Hey everyone! Welcome to the Breaking Moment podcast. My name is Regine Bowe, and I am a social worker who wants to give you hope, encourage you, and help you feel less alone in your healing journey. This podcast is dedicated to helping you heal, learn, and grow to become a better version of yourself. Through education and personal experience, I will discuss topics around mental health and spirituality. So, let's get started on today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Breaking Moment podcast. I am your host, Regine Bowe, and welcome. I know it's been a little while since we've talked. I think going on 1 month actually. So many things have happened, so many things to catch you guys up on, some updates that's happening. But I'm happy to be here. I know it's been a little while. And so this month has been a month. Been dealing with a loss, lost my grandfather. I've just been, healing my own self, with grief comes other griefs that you've been going through. So, if you're in that grieving phase where you just lost someone, or whether it was like due to death or just because, you outgrew them and different things like that, like we talked about before about grief. But if you've, lost someone, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. It's hard. It's not easy. Like there's nothing easy about it. But, it's through these moments that, once we make it through, because we will make it through, we can see how strong we are. We can see, we can start to remember the good times. And I think that's when, you're kind of getting to a good place, when you can look back and smile at the memories you've had without getting angry and frustrated and sad. And even then you'll have days, like we're all going to have days where you just miss them. So I've been dealing with that and, just trying to be there for my family, family come down. So just trying to be a support to them. So I found myself feeling like I needed a little break, which is going to tie us into our episode today. But before I get started, like I said, I was trying to come up with an episode and I just couldn't do it. Like I just felt that my cup was empty and I had nothing to give. And when I hop on this mic, I really like to have a game plan, some type of game plan of what I want to talk about. And I just couldn't find the time to do it. Just, I had to give myself a little grace. Like, hold on, I just had a loss. I've been there for family. I've been trying to recover myself and I need a little break. So it's okay if you need to take a break. And, with this break, I was able to reflect. And I think that, we started with this podcast. I was doing it every week. I was doing it weekly. And then I realized that, once I got my full-time job, I couldn't sustain it. And it's okay to say you can't sustain a thing. You have to be honest about where you are. And I realized that I couldn't do weekly. So then I did bi-weekly. And you know what? Bi-weekly was working pretty well. And, after all this healing and after all this rest that I really needed to give myself, I realized that I think I might have to take a step back and do monthly. So for some of you that are like, boo, I am sorry, but that's just what I can do right now. And I think it takes a lot of courage to say, hey, I can't do this right now. That doesn't mean I will never go back to weekly or bi-weekly, but where Regine is right now, I can't give weekly or bi-weekly episodes. I can only give a month because of so much things that I do and pour into. I have to make sure I'm filling up me, because if I'm not filling up me, then nothing I do is effective. I'm going to be grumpy. I'm going to be agitated. I'm going to be resentful. I'm going to be, I'm not going to do it passionately. I'm just going to just do it. It just changes the energy and the atmosphere you're in, just how you are. So it's sad. I'm sad to say this, but we're going to be doing monthly episodes because that's just what I can do right now. And I think sometimes we have to get to a point where we reflect and we take a break and we rest so that we can see where we even are. Are we going in the right direction we want to go to? Are we exhausted beyond measures? Are we pouring into ourselves? Are we doing things that make us happy? Because so much of life can become autopilot. And then we look back later in life like, oh my gosh, I didn't even do anything I wanted to do. Then we become resentful. Then we become bitter. And we become jealous of others and things. So it's important to just rest, to take a break, to reflect. And through all this, as I'm grieving and, taking a break and different things, I was real. I was honest. I prayed about it and I said, I don't think I can sustain all the things that I'm making myself do. And that doesn't make me any less of a person. That doesn't make you any less of a person. That doesn't make you weak. That doesn't make you weak or looked down upon. It makes you strong. It makes you smart. It makes you look out for yourself. And that's what you have to do in this world, because think about it. Think about it. If you're constantly pouring into people, like, I'm sure most people wouldn't say, oh yeah, don't give me that, or yeah, don't help me. They're going to absorb it because in this life, we want to receive. We want to receive. We want to give too. Some people want to give, not everybody, but we like receiving. So if you're always on the giving end, giving, and never receiving things for yourself, never restoring yourself, then you're gonna become bitter and resentful. Like it's gonna happen. Like, it's just, you can only do so much. And I've done an episode. I think the people pleasing episode, I recommend you listening to if you're struggling with people pleasing, recovering people pleaser, as myself. But if you have a cup and you fill it up, if you fill it up, you start your day and you pour it to them, to them, to them, to them, to this person, to that person, this. You have nothing for yourself. Nothing for yourself. And then you can't run right. You can't be the person God called you to be. You can't be the person you want to be because you have nothing to give. So that's going to tie into our episode today. We're going to talk about, I didn't even know what to call this episode because I was just so conflicted about what I even wanted to talk about. And then just given this month of rest and making myself take a break and resting, because life just will be life. Life is life and all the time. But I realized that I want everyone to know like how important it really is to rest and to take a break. I guess this episode is going to be called The Importance of Resting and Taking Breaks in Our Healing Journey. I was trying to figure out, like, what is rest? And a lot of definitions had rest as sleeping, resting your body, different things like that. Doing things that don't require a lot of energy. But for me, I'm just going to give you a definition when I think of rest. When I think of the rest that I'm talking about, I think of it as restoring. I think of it as refueling yourself, because everyone's rest might not be to go sleep. Don't get me wrong, physical rest is important, but there's other types of rest, which is what we're going to talk about. Because I think when we talk about rest, we think about sleeping. We think about taking naps, which is so important. I am not downgrading naps and sleep because it's important. But there's other types of rest. So today I'm going to talk about the importance of rest, why we need to rest. I'm going to talk about rest. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits of rest. I'm going to talk about the different types of rest, and then I'm just going to, always tie it to a verse, because God's word is the GPS for how to live. I believe that. So I always try to tie it into God's word. I hope that it encourages you. Like I said, I think rest as, and everyone has a different definition, but I think of it kind of as something that restores you, something that refuels you. From this article from mindfulhealthsolutions.com, they talk about rest as anything that makes our nervous system feel safe enough for stress responses to switch off so our mind and bodies can recover and restore. And I like that, because it's so much more than physical, just sleeping. It's doing things that just restore you, that refuel you, that help you recover. And it's different for everyone. Everybody's rest looks different, but it's so important to do. It's so important to implement in our lives and our healing journeys. So important to take breaks. Taking breaks allows us to rest our minds for a little bit, to rest our bodies for a little bit. I always think about, when I think about resting and, refueling, I think about a car. You cannot run your car. You can fill it up, but when it runs on E, when it is at E, when it is on E, it ain't moving, right? Like there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. It'll stop moving. And that's what happens to us if we don't rest. We will stop being able to give. Our energy will decrease. We will stop. We will slow down. We won't be able to do the things that we want to do or that we're called to do because we're exhausted. Just like the car can't move, we won't be able to move. We won't be able to give. And if you keep running your car on E all the time, I remember my dad telling me this, but he just always told me, don't run your car on E all the time. It messes it up and it will eventually mess up your car. Just like us, if we never restore and rest and take breaks, we won't run right. We have to refuel ourselves in order to do the things we are called to do in this world, in order to be the person we're supposed to be in this world. And it's just so important. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the different types of rest, which I figured there was different types, but I really didn't know either. So this kind of helped me to understand. Also from the article mindfulhealthsolutions.com, there are 7 types of rest. There's physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, sensory rest, creative rest, social rest, and spiritual rest. So 7 types. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them. So also from the article, physical rest means taking a break from the physical activities that we do all day. We often think of rest as just laying down or sitting, but it can also include activities like, and they listed stretching, taking a nap, getting a massage, taking short breaks, going for a walk. So those are examples of physical rest. That's why I wanted to talk about this because like I said, even when I was thinking about rest, now that I'm in the field I know it's more than just sleep and laying down. But before, if you would have told me what rest is, I would have said that. I would have been like, it's just sleeping. But now it's so good to know that there's different types of rest because now you guys can do the work and figure out what do you need right now? What do you need at the end of your shift? What do you need after a long week, right? We all have to rest somehow. We have to rest. There's mental rest. Mental rest means taking a break from the constant mental stimulation that we face every single day. Think about it. We live in a world that's always on. Always on. Life is going to be lifing, right? Like it's always going to be constantly going. Sometimes we have to just take a step back and let our brains rest. Mental rest can include activities such as, and they listed, turning off your phone, avoiding social media, maybe practicing meditation. Mental rest is important. I had an episode where I talked about, turning the phone off, or even when you wake up, just not allowing that to be the first thing you do. That doesn't mean, you get rid of the phone forever because it's how we communicate. Sometimes our phones hold important things, but it's just allowing yourself to just get up, How can you deal with your crazy busy day when you already started the day opening Instagram? Now you see this thing, this drama. Oh my God, there's this attack. Oh my gosh, this bill is being like it consumes your mind. So mental rest is very important. Next one that's on here is emotional rest. Emotional rest means taking a break from the emotional demands that we face every single day. And some of the activities they listed is spending time alone, avoiding stressful situations, talking to a trusted friend, practicing self-care, journaling, spending time in nature. So I feel like this is the one that I was realizing that I needed a lot, the mental, emotional, and spiritual. Because emotional, like, I realized, and this might be your story. This might be something you're struggling with because not everyone knows how this feels. But as a recovering people pleaser, sometimes it's so triggering to say yes. I don't know if anyone has felt that, where it's like literally yeses are painful because it means saying no to yourself, right? And not everyone feels that way because maybe they don't say yes a lot. Maybe their thing is the opposite. They need to say yes more to others. But when you have always said yes to others, sometimes it's exhausting saying yes to them because especially when you're healing people pleasing and you're learning to fill your cup up. But we still feel guilty saying no because we always said yes. But it's realizing that sometimes we have to say no to them so we can say yes to us. Sometimes we have to be alone because we are constantly around people's energies and emotions. I know that as a family-based therapist, I'm experiencing and hearing and seeing people every day, Monday through Friday, and it's exhausting. So sometimes I need a full day Saturday to just be by myself and to fill my own cup up away from people. And the old me would be guilty to do that. You know why? Because I don't know. That's just how I thought. The people pleasing me, always wanted to be around people, always wanted to fill everyone's bucket up. But then as I got in this field, I realized that I am no good to anyone if I'm not okay. If I don't have my bucket full, because I become reactive. Um I kind of become, sassy. I don't really like reflect and respond as I would. I become reactive. Like I say what's on my mind, and I don't like being that way. So because I don't like being that way, it makes me, focus more on what I can do to not be that way, and that means spending time with myself. When was it? Saturday. I realized that I had a really really tough week. I had a long week where it felt like I was just saying yes to everyone, and filling everybody's bucket up. And I said, you know what's happening on Saturday? I put it on my calendar. I let my family know I'm having a me day. I got myself up. I got myself a facial, got my eyebrows done. It felt great. And I also enjoy walking. So the physical rest of me, I got up and like I said, I got my facial, got my eyebrows done, went to a place that I really like. It has a pond. It's really calm. I walked for like 2.5 miles. I spent time with God. I read the Bible to prepare for this, but just for myself also. And so that helped my spiritual rest. And then I got to catch up with a friend, and that helped with my mental rest. And we got to talk, and it was just a really good day that I really needed. And it made me feel really good on Saturday. I felt good Sunday, and actually coming in Monday. Sometimes Mondays are like, oh my gosh, I can't. But today I was like, I can do this. I felt good enough to get this episode out. I'm recording this on Monday so I can have it ready for you guys for next week, because I really want to make sure that I'm consistent. But it was because I had to take a break, and I realized that I need rest. And then I was able to reflect on what type of rest do I need. And I realized that I needed emotional, I needed mental, not being on the phone. I needed spiritual, I needed to be connected to God. So yes, so that's emotional rest. There's sensory rest. Sensory rest means taking a break from the constant sensory input that we face every day. We are bombarded with noise, light, and other stimuli all the time, and it can be overwhelming. So, sensory rest can include things like turning off the TV, closing your eyes, spending time in a quiet room, taking a bath, listening to calming music, practicing deep breathing. That is a good point. When you wake up, lights are on, the sun is out, the phone is ringing, people are talking, you get to work, people are talking, you have demands you need to do, you're listening to this. So it is important to take a sensory rest. The fifth one is creative rest. And like I said, this is all from the article mindfulhealthsolutions.com. Creative rest. It means taking a break from the constant creative demands that we face every day. We often feel like we need to be constantly producing and creating, but this can be exhausting. Creative rest can include activities like taking a break from work, pursuing a hobby, engaging in creative activities that you enjoy, such as drawing, painting, knitting, cooking, etc. I like this. I like this because that statement, we often feel like we need to be constantly producing and creating. We do. I feel that way. Sometimes I have to say, Regine, no, we are not doing that. Not because it's not good and it's not going to fill someone's bucket up, but because I'm exhausted. And there's something about, one thing I always try to be intentional about is if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right. I don't want to have to do it. So in order to be able to do things the right way, we have to take breaks so that we have the energy to do it. We don't have energy if we're just running around left and right, going to work, going here, going there, saying yes, doing this, doing that. Then we don't have time to give our all in the thing we do. I think we can go through life and cross the boxes off. Yep, I did it. Yep, I did it. But were you present? Did you enjoy it? Did you give your all? Or did you just go through the motions because you just, you're on autopilot? Because sometimes, and this is not a knock at anyone, like that's what happens. We become autopilot. We just go through life like it is what it is. But like your life is so much more than that. Like you have one life, and it can be what you want it to be. You just have to tune in to what you want, to what is God telling you, to what is your vision, but you can't do that when you are constantly on the go. Like I had to learn this the hard way. You have to take breaks to even see, like, can you even see your vision? Can you even see where you want to go? Are you just going because that's all you know? Are you just going because it's comfortable? Like, are you even uncomfortable a little bit? That's how we grow in life. We have to be uncomfortable. But yes, create a rest. I like that. Taking a break from work. How many of you guys have not even taken a vacation yet? We're 6 months in the year. Have you even taken one day to yourself? And if you haven't, I would think about it. Because guess what? Work's going to be there. I remember my mom telling me that. No matter what, work is going to be there. It's always going to be, there's always going to be clients there. There's always going to be things there when I get back. But I can't give my all on that job if I'm not okay, if I'm not refueling myself. And I just realized that, like, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for rest. There's a reason for taking breaks. And but yeah, work's gonna always be there, guys. Like, it's important that you still live life and enjoy it and refuel yourself. Social rest. The sixth one is social rest, which means taking a break from the social interactions that we face every day. We are social creatures, but socializing can be draining, especially for introverts. So some examples they gave for social rest is spending time alone, avoiding social situations, spending time with close friends and family, having a solo picnic, hike, or lunch, and practicing self-care. This is also something I had, social rest. Like I said, I was constantly, with a death means a funeral, means being around family. So I was constantly around family, constantly around clients and work. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. I need time to myself. And it's okay. It's okay to need time to yourself. It's okay to say no. One day my family was having a barbecue and I said, guys, I'm sorry, I can't go. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I just need a break. I need a break. I'm okay. I just need to fuel my cup up, and that's okay. I realize that so much of things that we think people are going to get mad at us, we think people are going to think less of us, whatever. A lot of people understood. Like, when I said it, I was so reluctant to even not be a part of a family event. But then I realized, like, I need this for me. And then, my family checked on me. Hey, just checking, are you good? And I explained, I did a lot this weekend. I had a tough week at work, with the funeral, and then I had the funeral, and then I had this, and I just needed a day to myself. And a lot of them said, oh, I get it. I understand. I'm like, wow, I'm not alone. So sometimes we get in our head and we think we're alone in things, but we're really not. And it's okay to communicate, because it's better to communicate how you're feeling than to say nothing and then become resentful and bitter about it. So it's okay to take a social rest. And the last one, spiritual rest. Spiritual rest means taking a break from the spiritual demands that we face every day. It can include volunteering for a cause you care about, practicing yoga, spending time in nature, engaging in a spiritual practice that you enjoy, praying and meditating. So, I don't know how I feel about that last one thing, but I do get where I think, from my perspective, if I understand it, I would think spiritual rest maybe would be, like, say you're a person that is always involved in church things. You go to church and then Bible study, and then you're part of this event and that event, and it's always constantly doing and going, which is important. But I think sometimes you do need a break, because God is wherever you allow him to be. His presence is always with us as long as we allow him in. So, like, for example, not this past Sunday, the Sunday before, me and my mom were doing this thing. We were going to hand out things for the homeless, and I wanted to make sure everything was ready. So I didn't go to church, and I debated about it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to miss church, because I hate missing church. I really do, because it really helps me with my week. It helps me just so much. But I realized that, like, it's important to go to church. I am a firm believer, but at the same time, it's just as important as what I do when I'm not at church. So I still allow myself to, praise God and just be in his presence and listen to worship music, and I put a sermon on. So I think sometimes we do have to rest, and just pray about it. I'm a big believer that we can pray about anything, even when we're tired. Like, God, I'm doing a million things, even for the church, and I'm tired. God hears you. God hears when you're tired and when you need rest. So we talked about what rest is, taking breaks, what that means. We talked about the 7 different things, which is kind of cool, because it's also going to tie into the verse I'm talking about with the number 7. Before we go into that, though, I want to talk about some of the benefits. Rest is important because it helps our mental and physical health. It helps our mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, creative, all those things. It helps us. It helps us refuel. helps us get that energy that we need to endure what's going to happen, endure the negatives, endure the positive, endure people. You know, it allows us to just be the light we need to be. It helps us fill up our cup. It calms our nervous system. It allows us to have time with God. I realize that a lot of times when I am resting or spending time alone, I usually am praying or I'm in nature, and I usually feel closer and connected to God in those moments anyway. So I feel like it helps us to get, it allows us to spend time with God, because sometimes we don't spend time with God because we're so busy. We wake up, our alarm goes off, we clean up the house, get the kids ready, we take the dogs out, we go to work, we don't have time, we're too tired to pray. And I think that this allows us to spend time with God when there's no distractions. It allows you to actually speak to Him, pray to Him, worship Him. Um, it allows us to heal. You know, if we're constantly moving and going, how do we heal the things? Especially with grief, grief is one of those things that it just is different for everyone. But if we're just running and never taking breaks and never, resting, we won't heal the wounded parts of us. We won't even see the wounded parts of us. How can you know what you want to fix and what you want to become better at if you never stop and assess what is going right and what's going wrong? It helps us assess our lives and our path. Are we going on the right path? Are we happy with our life? And if not, in those breaks and those times you're resting, I realize that a lot of times, not only do I do my best thinking, and my brain just flows better when I'm alone and when I'm able to just have quiet and not have distractions, because I can really think about things. I'm able to reflect. My ideas start really starting to pump out of my brain. Like, it's crazy how, I was always scared to be alone because, like, that's a whole other story. That's just like trauma for me, like just being alone, being with myself. But then I realized that I actually love time with myself. And I realized I have the best ideas when I'm alone. I spend time with God when I'm alone. And then not only that, but then I'm a better person when I'm alone, because then when I come back and I interact with my family and friends, I have more energy to give. It gives us peace, gives us a peace of mind. It allows us to show up as the person we want to be. It helps us create space for people and things that we have planned. If I look at my schedule from Monday to Friday and I don't rest in the weekends, then I can't sustain Monday through Friday, because so much of my job is like I'm busy, and some days I'm not, but most of the time I am. And sometimes it's things that's unplanned and things that come up that I got to be ready for. So I have to make sure that I'm regulated, because I don't know what's going to happen. So it allows us to show up as the person we want to be. It helps us to create space for the people and things that are planned. It allows us to regulate our emotions, become self-aware. And I think it just increases our happiness and our peace of mind. So how can we start resting? I think you just have to be aware that you need to do it. Like at today, I want you to take time. Give yourself 5 minutes and just close your eyes. Set a timer. Close your eyes. Obviously, if you're driving, don't do this. But take 5 minutes of your day, whether you're listening to this at the beginning or the end. Just give yourself 5 minutes and close your eyes and just take breaths and just assess. Like, what do you need? What do you need right now? What do you need at the end of the week? What can you do? Can you give yourself a me day? Can you give yourself half of a me day where you're just doing things that fill up your cup? Do you need to go to the beach right now? Do you need to go to the beach tomorrow? Do you need to take a break from the household at the moment because it's a lot going on? Do you need to call a friend? Like, really assess what you need. And I think that's how we start. We have to become aware. That's everything I said. We have to become aware that, we need a break. If you think you're good, if you think you're still Superman or Superwoman and I don't need no break, I'm good, then you won't take it. Point blank, period. I think you have to become aware. And I think, like, once you become aware, then you can start maybe setting timers throughout the day. Like, give yourself 5 minutes after maybe you work 4 hours. You give yourself 5 minutes to just close your eyes for a minute. And maybe you need to take a minute and take a walk outside for 5-10 minutes on your lunch break or when you get a break at work. You never know. The little things really do fill you up. And when they do, it changes your whole dynamic. It changes your whole atmosphere, your energy and what you bring to the table. So I think, like, becoming aware and, maybe setting timers to remind you, because sometimes it is hard. Our days are busy. Our days, when morning starts, we can go to the end. On the article, it talks about ways you can do it is to schedule it in, be intentional, take breaks, set boundaries, disconnect, experiment, and make it a habit. Because sometimes rest and taking breaks can be scary for people. I am one that it was scary. Like, what? I can't do that. Like, you only get 24 hours in a day. I have to get this done. I have to get this done. Nope. Guess what? It's still going to be there. And if it's not, maybe it wasn't meant to be worried about. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get to a point where you're just like, my mental health, my sanity matters more than just running around with my head cut off, because God didn't create us like that. And this is going to tie into the ending of our episode, which I don't have exact verses because I kind of went from Genesis, the beginning. I went to the beginning of the Bible. And I'm going to be looking at Genesis chapter 1 and 2. And it's if you want to read through it, go for it. But pretty much the summary is I wanted to talk about God's creation, right? So day 1, God created light and darkness, which he called day and night. Day 2, God created the bodies of water in the sky. Day 3, God created the land and the waters that he called sea. And then there was like the plants and trees that grew over the land. And then day 4, he created the sun, moon, and stars. Day 5, he created fish and the birds. Day 6, he created animals to live on the land, and he created man. He created us in his image. Day 7, God rested from all the work he had done. I could end there. God, who created this world. There is nobody greater than God. Nobody, no human, nothing, nobody. I don't care what you got to say. That I'm a firm believer. Nothing. And if God created all of us, all these things, and then he said everything he made, he said that it was good, what he did. What he made, it was good, and he rested. God didn't say, oh, let me fix human. I messed up a little bit. Let me go back and, fix the body of water. He didn't say, oh my gosh, like, what if this doesn't work? Like, he didn't, you know what I mean? How we get to a point where we're like, okay, I'm actually going to rest. Oh, wait, oh man, I didn't call her back. Oh, shoot. I didn't turn that email in. Oh my gosh, I didn't, like, it's like the moment we want to rest and our minds start feeling. And I'm saying that because it happens to me. Every time I'm intentional about resting, that's when it feels like I can't rest because I forgot something, I missed something. But we have to be intentional. Like, God didn't make us to just be these human beings that just constantly run on E all the time. Like, yes, I'm not going to say you're not going to work hard and be tired, but it's important to rest because God rested. Like, what makes us think that we don't need rest, that we can be Superwoman and Superman? No, God is God Almighty. Like, he created everything in this world. He created us. He created man. He created animals, and he rested because he knew it was good. So I want us to be intentional about giving our best, but also resting. Give God, what was the saying I said? Do your best and give God the rest. And then I want you to also rest. I want you to take a break, okay? Write down what you have to do, but implement breaks, even if it's 5 minutes. Like, you'd be surprised how just closing your eyes for 5-10 minutes will do you justice. And I think you have to start small because, like I said, it can be overwhelming. Like, where do I have time? But that's where you trust God. Trust that, what you did today, whatever, like, say you're listening to this at the end of the day, what you did today was enough. Because guess what? No matter how much thinking you do in your head and worrying, it doesn't change. It's not going to change tomorrow. It's not going to change what you've done. It doesn't change the past. It doesn't control the future. It doesn't. So God rested for all the work he done. Why can't you? This is something I ask myself. Why can't I rest? Why can't I take a break? Why do I feel like I have to run my head cut off? And then we think that it's something. This is the thing. And this is something I realize I do. Sometimes I think it's God saying it, but it's really me. Why would I think God wants me to work and then volunteer for this place and then volunteer for that place and then go to this place and then go to that place and then I'm mad? No, I keep putting myself in things and I have to take accountability and say, you know what, Regine, you're doing too much. You need to rest. You need to take a break because how can you even be the person God wants you to be in the things he called you to if you keep running around, if you keep adding things to your plate that you can't handle right now? Or maybe that's not even for you to do. And it's very hard to come to that point because we think that, I think we believe that being busy makes us important because I thought that. But the truth is, we are loved, we matter, we are good enough despite the efforts we bring. Like, that's not all we bring to the table is what we do at work and if we volunteer. Like, we are so much more than those things. God sees what we need, and sometimes we really need rest. Sometimes we really need to take a break. And I'm here to tell you that if that's you, it's okay. It is okay. And guess what? It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel like weird. It's going to feel like you shouldn't be doing it, but you have to do it. God literally said he rested. He did everything he needed to do. So say you did everything you need to do right now and you're still trying to figure out, oh my God, I need to do this. I need to do this. I do this all the time to myself. And I have to be intentional and say, Reggie, no, we are cutting the computer off. No, we are not turning our work phone on. No, we are not going to hang out with that person because you're tired and you need to rest right now. You need to fill your bucket up. You need to go to the beach because that's what calms you down. And I have to do that because if not, then you don't get the proper rest you need. And when you don't get the proper rest you need, you can't do the things that you're called to do. You can't be the person you want to be. So I encourage you today, in closing, I encourage you today to rest. I encourage you to take a break, even if it's 5 minutes. Set a timer, set daily timers. Maybe when you get to work 2 hours in, you try to take a 5-minute break. Stretch your legs out, do whatever you need to do. I think when you start implementing it in your everyday life, it doesn't make your week so consuming. But I get it. Sometimes we're very, very busy. Even if you can't do every day, maybe every other day, just taking a break and resting. And definitely at the end of the week, try to do something that fills you up. Even if you're saying, hey fam, hey guys, I'm good, but I need this hour. Sometimes what's so therapeutic to me, and I'm sure some of you guys, driving in my car blasting music that I love. Windows down, sunroof down, and just enjoying the wind and singing my song as loud as I can. Something about that just brings me so much joy. It's whatever you need to do to fill your bucket up, okay? Whatever you do that gives you rest and allows you to take a break from all the demands and pressures of the world, of society, of things we think we need to do too. All right, guys. I hope that you have a good rest of your day and week. I hope that you find healing. I hope that you get the rest. I hope that you take a break. I hope that you realize that you're still good enough and you're still loved, even when you're not busy, even when you're not superwoman, even when you take a break, okay? I hope that you realize that you are still valuable and your value does not depend on the things that you always do for people and the things that you always do at work. Like, you're so much more than that. And the next time you give yourself a hard time about taking a 5-minute break or resting, I want you to go to Genesis chapter 1 and 2, where it literally says God rested on the 7th day. He knew what he did was good. He knew that he did what he needed to do, and he rested. So why can't you? I'm going to leave you with that question. God rested, so why can't you? All right, guys, I love you all. Mwah. I will see you in a month. We're going to see how this month thing goes. Like I said, I'm trying to be intentional about what I can handle and what I can't. So I'll see you guys in about a month. If you still need encouragement throughout the week, because I know that's a big gap, I still have a lot of episodes you can kind of re-listen to some. Or I try to post inspiring things on my Instagram every once in a while at the Breaking Moment Podcast. And I love you guys. Hope you have a good week, day, month, and I will see you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Breaking Moment Podcast. If this information was helpful, please share it with others. And if you enjoy listening, subscribe to the podcast so you can get the latest episodes. You can listen to the Breaking Moment Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.